like he wanted to talk to us. Like once he realized that we were cool, like he like started like because I guess he
Did you buy him a beer?
No, because he didn't drink.
Did you ask?
Of course.
No, I wasn't drinking on the train.
Of course.
I was
So how'd you know he doesn't drink?
Because
Good question.
He offered. He was talking about how.
Welcome back to Nanodosing. It's Tuesday. It's March 28th. All right, we're back. Another solid week here on Macrodosing. This is Nanodosing. We're going to keep it tight, keep it real tight. Get in, get out. That's what we say about Nanodosing. So that means this will only be a 2-hour episode.
Perfect.
I don't know. Maybe not even that long. But yeah, good to have everybody around. Big T's in studio, Billy's in studio, McKinsey and Mad Dog, M&M's are in studio. You guys are the green M&M's. And we got Arian. Arian's also, he's in his on his luxury yacht somewhere off the coast of Houston. He's zoomed in. Do you have a yacht? Do you have a boat, Arian?
No. Hell no.
You should get a boat.
I should not get a boat.
What's the closest lake to Houston?
Gonna tell you, don't like water.
Okay.
What about the
That makes
Gulf?
sense.
Do you like Gulfs?
That's water.
Yeah, but it's the Gulf.
That's dirty water.
It is dirty. But my first experience at Texas beaches, I was shocked. I was shocked at all the like oil that there is on the sand. People drive their cars right up on the beach. And you park your car there, and then you walk around. You get tar and shit stuck to the bottom of your feet because the water has so much oil in it.
Is BP to blame?
Yeah.
I think that might be more the speed.
Yeah. Did we figure out what happened with BP? Did anybody get arrested for that?
They lobbied it. Their lobbyists just put that under the rug.
Nobody got arrested for that.
They were dumping a lot. There was a lot of oil in there.
Are we sure nobody got arrested for that?
I don't think anybody got arrested for that.
How could nobody get arrested for that?
Yeah. It's like, look, you know how many people get away with huge crimes
Yeah.
because of lobbying
Yeah.
and shit?
I mean, you can get thrown in jail if you litter too much. If I just threw my trash that I had right now out onto the street.
Yeah.
Actually, it's New York, so
Yeah,
it'll
it's
probably
New York.
blend in. But most places, if you just take your trash and you throw it out into the middle of a street and you block traffic, you could get arrested.
You're telling me I can't crack open a beer and walk in the street, or crack open a beer on the way to the Yankees game on the subway?
Yep.
I can get a ticket, but you can just crack open a whole fossil fuel reserve at the base of the Gulf of Mexico and just let it leak.
Yeah,
and get nothing,
and
scotch free.
Scotch free.
Yeah. Is it
Without
scot-free?
any alcohol.
Is it scotch?
it's scotch free.
I always thought it was scotch free because it didn't stick.
No tape.
I thought it didn't stick. I thought that's what.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I know. It's scot free. I don't know the origin of that term.
Of
but I always,
all the things he said, that's not the most.
I think
ludicrous.
there's
No,
a
it's
lot
not.
of people that say scotch free, thinking that it's like because it doesn't stick.
Okay. All right. There might be define a lot.
Actually, there a good amount of dyslexic people.
Okay.
But
was
hey,
thinking
scotch tape.
Scotch
Well, you
like
can't
alcohol.
blame dyslexia for mixing up Scott and Scotch.
Yes, you can.
That's not dyslexia.
Whatever it is, who cares?
Okay. Who
Yeah,
cares?
Arian's right. The play here, he should have played it off as an alcohol pun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scotch free. That's what I thought he's. Yeah.
Scotch free, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like many things Billy says, the larger point will get lost in his misappropriation of a word.
I'm getting hunted down by Indian bots right now.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. But Billy's right. People should be in jail for that.
Yeah.
Nobody went to jail, as far as we know, in
I
our
know.
research that we've done in the last 15 seconds.
No one, yeah. Trump hasn't been arrested yet. I think they realized that it would be a bad move to arrest him.
This is
listened
not
to
about the
Macron.
oil spill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't been arrested, but I think I don't know. I get the feeling like this district attorney is probably going to do whatever it takes to arrest him.
Yeah.
But yeah, go listen to last week's episode with Brace. People love Brace. We'll have Brace on again soon. Brace is an all-time guest. We could sit him in this room and just have him bro with Billy for days, probably.
Arian threw a new study out into the group chat.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So, the study that you sent over to us basically says if you don't like sports, you're a loser. Did I get that right?
and that you hate your
Hold on.
life.
Yeah.
Real quick, let me backtrack for a second. It says former BP engineer arrested in connection with Gulf of Mexico spill.
That's 100% such a cop out.
A fall guy.
That's
So like
such-
the guy that was actually on the.
Yeah, I think
On the
rig. Yeah, 1 2 years, the rig explosion that killed 11 workers and caused millions of barrels of oil to spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Federal authorities have arrested Kurt Mix, a former BP engineer. Mix was among those tasked with monitoring and stopping the leaking oil. He is accused of destroying evidence showing exactly what the company knew about why attempts to seal the leak were failing. John Schwartz is a national legal correspondent.
Interesting.
So I think he was probably cover up.
Yeah, the guy that got arrested was the guy that burnt and destroyed all the stuff that would have implicated other people at BP.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
So
You
there's
got to have a fall guy.
destroy this or you're fired guy got fired
Yep.
and arrested.
And arrested.
And they probably paid all his legal fees. And they probably got him out of prison.
They
at the
probably
end.
took care of him
Yeah.
after he got out of jail.
That would be a sweet gig. If you could
Be a
do
fall guy?
if you could do like this guy probably only got what? Let me check. 3 to 6 months.
Oh, let me backtrack one more time. That was a earlier article. This is later on. U.S. federal prosecutors have dropped manslaughter charges against 2 BP employees connected with the Gulf of Mexico oil spill disaster, making it highly unlikely that anyone will ever serve prison time over far-reaching calamity.
All right, so the manslaughter charges, yes, obviously since people died, somebody should be held responsible for that. But what about also all the oil that just leaked into the Gulf and destroyed fishing industries and ruined Gulf tourism and fucked up the environment big time? Nobody got in trouble for that
Yeah.
ever.
I think Dawn cashed in on that.
Dawn?
Yeah, they're just washing off
The
animals.
ducks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dawn soap miracle mixture.
Big Soap cashed in on it.
Yeah. Who makes
Interesting.
Dawn soap?
Dawn.
Oh, Billy's getting real into the details now.
I think it's P&G,
Oh. We're getting somewhere.
Ohio-based company.
Dawn soap ownership. And who owns P&G?
Procter and Gamble.
Right. Procter and Gamble. Who owns Procter and Gamble?
This is how the
Wait a second. Vanguard owns most of Procter and Gamble and British Petroleum?
interesting.
What? No, I'm kidding.
That was sarcasm.
I'm
All
just
right.
saying.
Find somebody. Give me somebody to get mad at for that. I want to know who needs to be in
Yeah.
prison.
I think they released petroleum-eating bacteria into the Gulf of Mexico to clean up the oil.
I'm sure there will be no consequences for that.
Oil-eating bacteria.
That's like when they say, "Okay, we've got a rat infestation. Let's release more snakes." Oh, now we've got a snake infestation.
Yeah, I mean that's how the marine toads just infested Australia. Did you see that one they caught? It was the size of a turkey.
Yeah.
Huge toad.
Yeah.
Huge toad.
So how come those toads don't take over the United States?
Because they're native to South America,
Yeah.
and they haven't been able to there's some in Florida, but I think the climate's a little too dry in certain places.
Also, they've got the snakes in Florida that'll eat them.
Yeah, probably bullfrogs, to be honest. The American bullfrog is super invasive in other places, and they'll eat anything in the pond.
Have we had an update on all the snakes that are released into the Everglades?
They're just eating deer, eating alligators, eating homeless people, just eating everything.
Damn.
But people are out there hunting them. I mean, honestly, macrodosing video, I'll go down there with a machete and just start going after
Damn
the
it.
pythons. Find a guy.
I would watch that.
That would be sick.
I would absolutely watch that. Let's make it happen.
And I'm bringing my dog.
What if it eats Whitey though?
He'll be a little bit of he might be no. He'd help me find them.
Okay.
Actually, that's actually a very realistic possibility. He could get eaten by a python.
Yeah, you got to watch out, man. Like, because
he's pig sized.
it happens in
Let's
Florida.
do it.
Like people
Get it.
they get these pythons, and then they're like, oh shit, this python keeps growing. And obviously in Florida, I think per capita they probably have the most domesticated snakes in the United States. And then they're like, oh shit, this python's way too big. I don't know what to do with
Whoa.
it. It's expensive to feed. And then they just release it into the swamp, and it starts growing and growing and growing. It gets into like anaconda size.
So I actually read a whole. I've been into herpetology from a very young age.
You don't need to explain your bona fides when
One
it
of
comes
the
to herpetology.
greatest
we
pe-
know.
one of the greatest piece of literature, and actually we need to get this guy on the show. It was called The Lizard King. It was basically talking about reptile smuggling in the 80s, because basically the drug trade caused a lot of disposable income in South Florida, and what these guys want to spend their money on, they had to wash a lot of money, and they had to just show that they were super rich, so they started spending their money on exotic animals, tigers, lions, crocodiles. But this is when high-end morphs came into play. So there was a reptile smuggler from Thailand who discovered basically an albino Burmese python, and it was a very impressive looking snake. I think probably everyone knows it from the Britney Spears Toxic video. You know the snake that was on Britney Spears,
Yep.
the white one?
Mhm.
Basically, there became a huge boom for rare morphs. So they started breeding them.
Was this after the toxic video?
No, before.
Okay.
Let me. But basically, they started breeding these snakes, looking for the rare morphs, the colorful ones. That basically a lot of these drug dealers and people in South Florida wanted to buy, because something about, basically a living jewel was very enamoring to people who were taking a ton of cocaine. So they're buying all of them, but there was then the snakes that didn't look pretty, that were the byproduct of, like, let's say you have a whole clutch of snakes, they all hatch and like 2 of them look, rare. There's all these other snakes that are pretty much worthless, and then they get thrown out, or they get released into the Everglades, or a hurricane hits and your snake, you gotta evacuate and you can't take your gigantic snake with you.
Yeah.
So but it's a really fascinating story, and hopefully we can locate one of these guys, because I'd love to have him
The
on.
Reptile King?
The Lizard King, but Brian Christie was the author. Actually, I'd love to have him on. But the guys that they were talking about, Van Nostrand, Michael J. Van Nostrand, owner of Strictly Reptiles. And like these guys were also sewing cocaine into snakes and smuggling them on their body, because before, I think it was not RICO, but CITES, CITES, something about illegally trafficking exotic animals wasn't passed before. So if you got caught with a bunch of snakes on you, it would be like, oh, you're a reptile smuggler. It's like a felony. Or I mean, it's not even a felony at that time. And they would never check inside the snakes for the drugs. So it was a much lower charge than getting hit with a drug smuggling charge.
So the Lizard King of Florida was nabbed. Here's a great headline: Infamous Lizard King of Florida nabbed in turtle heist.
Yeah.
From 2021.
Oh, he
reptile-
got hit again?
A Florida reptile dealer
Wait.
known as the Lizard King faces federal charges. Billy, listen, I'm reading it out loud right now. Billy.
Yeah.
I'm reading it out loud right now, so
Yeah.
you don't have to look it up. He faces federal charges for illegally harvesting turtles from the wild to smuggle out of the United States and sell overseas. Van Nostrand owns the reptile wholesale store Strictly Reptiles in Hollywood, Florida. They sell reptiles, blah, 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 blah. Documents filed in Miami Federal District Court show that Van Nostrand and his company established a network of so-called collectors to gather protected freshwater turtles from the wild. Van Nostrand then falsely labeled the turtles as having been bred in captivity so that customers would not suspect that the animals had been collected illegally. So he just caught a bunch of turtles and then said, no, these are farm-raised turtles, but they're actually wild.
I think he was going after Florida soft shells, because those are overseas, like in, there's a lot of huge fish tanks in places, especially in like Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
But Florida soft shells do well in the aquariums, and they fetch a good price.
Striped mud turtles is what they're called.
Striped mud turtles?
Yeah, so I'm on the Reptile King side, or the Lizard King side in this.
This is bullshit. Robert California is the Lizard King.
That's true.
Van Morrison's the Lizard King. But
I think we should free the Lizard King. They're trying to get him in jail for 5 years.
can we get him on the show
in
first?
federal prison. Yes.
He would be someone I would really want to, because that book was fascinating to me as a young
How
child.
come the Lizard King gets 5 years in prison and BP doesn't get anything?
Yeah.
I still have to buy their stupid fucking gas.
This guy may have caused the python problem though.
No, his customers might have
Yeah.
caused the python problem,
True.
but not the Lizard King. I say
True.
free the Lizard King. And by the way, calling this a heist, they're just trying to get clicks. That's not a heist. He just caught turtles. Who'd he steal them from? Their mothers?
The wild.
The wild?
I mean,
That's not a
one
heist.
could make that argument about animals that people steal them from their families, but I've been shot down many times on that idea.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Like, when you adopt a dog, you just heisted it.
Fun fact about this guy.
Dog heist.
Yeah, dog heist. No, this is not a heist. This is I found turtles.
Every Komodo dragon in captivity in the United States can be traced back to this guy. He was the first person to get Komodo dragons out.
I'm
Of
okay with no
Indonesia.
Komodo dragons.
Komodo dragons are freaking wild.
Which is the one that will actually kill you? Is that Gila monster?
No, Komodo. Well, Gila monsters can kill you too, but Komodo dragons are like the craziest predator, like the most prehistoric beast on planet Earth is the Komodo dragon. They
You're
will
not-
kill you in cold blood.
Really?
So they kill several. They still get bodies to this day on the Komodo Islands.
You're not really
And
allowed to go visit them because they're that aggressive.
You can. The people do, and they've killed several tourists. I think it's much more rare nowadays, but they've eaten several tourists.
Yeah, the Gila monster is a smaller one, right?
The Gila monster's the ones south of the border,
Yeah, but
Mexico.
the Komodo is those are the
dinosaur.
massive ones, and
Yeah.
if they bite you, you're fucked
And
because
they're
they've
so-
got poisonous mouths.
And I think if they like kill someone, I don't think they can actually kill them because they're so endangered. I think it's one of those deals.
You can't exact revenge.
No, like I think the government says if you get eaten by that might be. Let me look.
They have a
into that.
boys will be boys clause. Where
Yeah,
it's
but like Komodo dragons, like there was a guy who's like getting coconuts on the top of a palm tree, and he like climbed up there one day and he was grabbing his coconuts. He fell asleep, and then he woke up and there was just a bunch of Komodo dragons waiting at the base of the tree, and they waited him out for like days and days and days, and then he finally got so dehydrated, dropped out of the tree, and they just ate him. They are the most cold-blooded killers on Earth, and they're not venomous, but their saliva has such a high bacterial load that one bite, the wound will 100% get infected. So they'll bite like a water buffalo, and then you just wait around for like a month till it dies of infection.
Why didn't the guy just
and then
start
eat it?
drinking coconut water?
That's good. That's a very good question.
It's the most hydrating liquid on the planet.
Yeah.
This is why you always tell friends where you're going if you go out to harvest coconuts. Let them
Yeah.
know what your hiking plan is.
I think they killed a German tourist like recently.
So let's talk about this study real quick.
Tourist or tourist?
Tourist.
Tortoise.
I used to get terrorist and tourist mixed up when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very confusing time
Look
being
at-
explained about terrorism and flying on planes and tourists and what are you doing? We're being tourists here.
Yeah, Billy sees like a Middle Eastern couple taking pictures of the Empire State Building. He's like, "Look at that terrorist!"
Oh
And
my
everyone gets
God.
mad at him, and he's like, "What? Why is everybody mad at me?"
What's the reasons for your stay? We're being terrorists.
Yeah.
No, tourists.
Yeah, young Billy travels overseas to London. What brings you here? I'm doing some terrorism.
What?
We're just going to do some terrorism and get in, get out.
Tourism.
Yeah, it's a bad mistake.
I got
to
off scotch-free.
make. So Arian sent over this study into the group chat this morning, and after perusing it, my conclusion is that if you don't like sports, you're a loser. Am I anywhere close with my description of the study, Arian?
I wouldn't categorize it like that.
You're
I just-
lonely though.
Yeah, I took it to mean that like just any human study over the past, whenever they've been studying humans, I think overwhelmingly concludes that the more communal you are, the happier you are, and the more life that you live. You gather people, enjoy people, and that keeps us living
Okay,
and happy.
that's one way to look at it. We were talking about it before we started taping, and it looks like you could argue causation correlation in this study left and right. So if you attend more sporting events and things like that, you probably also have more money to spend, and then that means that your quality of life, you're not hurting for anything. So that might be a little bit better.
I said that, not you.
Yeah, correct. Big T said that.
Yeah, that was Big T.
Yeah, I also have a feeling that depressed and anxious people don't like to go to large sporting events because they just get overwhelmed. Like socially anxious people, because there's so many people, and like it's a very stressful situation.
Well, they also say there's growing literature on passive sports engagement. So watching sports on TV could lead to having greater happiness than active sports engagement.
They talked a lot about loneliness, which, like, obviously if you go do a bunch of stuff in public, like, you're probably not someone who would describe themselves as lonely. But in terms of, like, happiness, this study was in England, which when I take it hard when Tennessee loses or the Braves lose, whatever. In England, when soccer teams lose, it is a cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
And people are ready to... They fire soccer managers over there if you start, 0-1-2.
But at the same time, if you're a fan of a bad soccer team, like hypothetically, if you're a fan of West Ham, and this year things haven't been going so well, they'll fucking riot after the games, after bad losses. That probably burns off some of your negative energy, right?
I guess,
They have a productive outlet for it.
They do love rioting.
I would love to see this study if it was done in areas that had bad sports teams, just in general, to see if it's actually an improvement. Like, for example, no disrespect, Mad Dog.
No,
but
I was just gonna say it. I was already there.
if you're a Cleveland sports fan,
People are depressed.
does that make you more likely to be depressed than if you live in Cleveland and you don't give a shit about sports? If you just care about fishing or
Yeah.
I don't know what else
Or
do you
like
do in Cleveland?
Serial killing.
Yes, if you're a
If
serial
you're a
killer,
serial killer, are you more happy in Cleveland?
Yes.
Honestly, probably because like I'll even do like a dad's like I feel like a lot of dads are into sports. If I may
Yep.
stereotype, like my dad, like growing up when most Sundays were not fun and happy between September and January.
yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of Ohio State Cleveland Browns overlap.
There is.
Yeah, that's true. So
You are
at
correct.
least you have
so
that.
I feel like they
Not me, but yeah,
they
most
s-
people.
they supplement their happiness with some Ohio State.
They get really, really happy on Saturdays to just have it come crashing down on Sunday afternoons. But, yeah.
What about most Jets fans? Most Jets fans are also Mets fans, right?
Jets. Well, yeah,
Is it Jets, Mets, and Nets?
Jets, Mets,
Nets.
Nets, and Islanders, I think.
Yeah, but that's
That's a tough four.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily always follow.
Yeah, I know
It, like,
you're a
mixes
Yankees
ma-
fan.
Yeah.
So that's why you're happy.
Yeah.
But if you're a Mets
Not
fan,
really.
a Jets fan, a Nets fan, and an Islanders fan,
Yeah.
are you happier than people in Long Island that don't travel to sports games or watch sports on TV? I think you probably might not be.
There's something to commiserating, though. Like, it was not... So, Tennessee, obviously, very good at football last year. Hopefully, they're very good going forward. That was very fun. But there is something to when a team is shitty and you see these other people who are just as mad as you are, and you can talk... Like, Schiano Sunday, the day that Greg Schiano was hired and unhired at Tennessee.
Yeah.
I was very pissed off. It felt nice to look around at these other people who were as, if not more, pissed off than I was,
Yeah.
and be like, we're going to fucking do something about this. So there is something to that feeling of community as well, even if you're not good.
Yeah, you're at least pulling in the same direction on something.
Right.
Yeah.
My parents say they didn't get married because of their love for each other. They have the mutual hate. They hate the same things, like commiserating like that.
Yeah.
What is that?
What do they
was
hate?
there-
Yeah, what is it?
You gotta
like
clarify that.
like people.
Wait, what?
Not like-
which people?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean it like that.
hating. Like what do they hate?
Like they'll
Well,
shit
the-
talk
the-
together.
They're British. They're Irish, right?
My mom.
who do they hate?
Like if they leave a party together, they're not like, oh, I love you so much. They're like, oh my god, that girl was so annoying.
Okay.
That's true.
I think
love.
Yeah.
that's like one of the biggest drivers of watching reality TV is like just so you can shit talk people on the show.
Yeah,
It makes you feel better because you're like, these people are crazy. I'm not that crazy.
that's true. Yeah, I think Big T's right. I think just being in the same boat as your neighbors, it's
Yeah.
good. It makes you feel like you're part of
It
something.
doesn't even
bigger.
matter where the boat's going, just as long as we in the same direction. That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's good small talk.
it is.
Like Kansas City doesn't have that much small talk.
They don't
What
got
are they
much
gonna
to
say?
talk
Like,
about.
hey, how about those Chiefs? It's like, yeah, they're really great. There's no more to say. But then it's like, those Jets suck. Like,
if the Chiefs didn't exist in Kansas City, they'd just be like, so the Royals, are we gonna care about them this year?
yeah, like they complain about the airport. That's what they
Yeah,
do.
our airport sucks. Our zoo's good.
Yeah.
That's Kansas City in a nutshell, right there.
Jason
They
Sudeikis.
got a good barbecue. They got a good barbecue scene.
They do.
Jazz too. Big jazz scene.
Is it really?
Well, I was
Are
researching.
you thinking about St. Louis?
No,
Or
no,
Memphis.
no.
Yeah.
Why
can't-
do you
any
say
place-
it like that? Bro?
No, I was down there and I was trying to.
You were researching Kansas City Jazz.
Well, because I was doing I was investigating Kansas City super fans.
yeah.
I was trying to see like what else the city's known for, and jazz was actually up there,
You know what?
and fountains.
I'd like to become experts on a city on this podcast, like a random ass city that nobody cares about,
That none
nobody
of us
talks
are
about,
from.
that none of us are from.
And we just go there and do a remote podcast.
Well,
All be
I like that.
Let's all text
Hey,
one right now.
May-
Just
Maybe eventually. I don't want to get over
Yeah,
our
we have a lot of
skis real quick.
plans.
I was in. You had me at we.
But
every
let's just figure out a city to get obsessed with as a podcast.
Like, can it be a suburb or should it be like a metropolitan
no
area?
a city
No,
that you've heard
I'm
of.
gonna
With
say
great
I'm gonna
urban
set a
planning.
baseline.
Nah, see, I was cool. I was cool with like an unheard of city, like some random place, like in Wyoming or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
I would like to set
random.
I would like to set a baseline. I would like to set the baseline of over 150,000 residents.
I was gonna say
That's a
250,
lot of.
but
That's a lot of people.
But the thing is,
No, I like
if we
150.
pick a small town, a really small place, what are the chances that there's going to be a lot to learn about that small place?
Hoboken, New Jersey. There's a lot to learn.
It's too close.
A lot of people live there.
It's not that many.
Aaron, what do you think that the baseline should be at?
I don't think that should be the baseline, but since it's your thing,
No,
that's what's up.
no. This is our thing.
But I mean, it should be a city that like people have heard of. Like it shouldn't be
But why,
Ackworth,
though?
Georgia.
But because
Wait,
that's
what
what I
did you
think.
just say?
Ackworth, Georgia.
What's that?
That's where I'm from.
Oh, I mean,
Wow, he just took a little jab at his home.
Do you think you're the most famous person from Ackworth, Georgia?
No,
I would like maybe we should do Ackworth, Georgia. I like the sound of it. Where is Ackworth? Tell me about Ackworth, Big T.
it's about
but I think-
30 minutes northwest of Atlanta. 22,000 residents in 2021. I'm trying to find if anybody notable has ever lived there. Dennis
I think it should
Dennis
be- I think-
Quaid. They filmed part of the remake of Footloose there.
Okay.
So Dennis Quaid was there for a little bit.
Was he from there though? Or
No,
he was just there.
He was just there.
Oh yeah.
He was in a restaurant one time, like a couple days before I went there.
Yep.
That
Yeah, I
was-
remember
that
you
was
telling me
cool.
the Dennis Quaid restaurant story.
Dennis Quaid was in the city for maybe a day or two, and that's the most famous association.
It was a
with the
big
city.
deal.
All right, Aaron, what do you think the criteria should be?
I think it should, because I think that, I mean, all like when you look at the history of cities in the U.S. in general, I think they all have something to them. That's why people migrated there, right? So there's a history behind every city. Like that's why the city hall, and like some more interested than others. But I think it would be dope to have like a flagship city for the podcast that we would end up going there and just like checking out the town. That shit would actually be kind of fire.
Oh yeah, I like
And it would expand, like, you know, traveling to new place. That's always one of my like things on my bucket list is doing that movie thing where you go to the airport and it's like, what's the next ticket out? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do that, and so this would be like a dope version of that, of like going to, like, I'm looking up like populations of all. I have all cities pulled up of populations over 100,000.
Mhm.
And so I mean, there's some good candidates on here. Like, it depends on what state we think about.
I feel like it can't be a state that any of us are from. It has to be like a fresh state.
Okay, everybody gets to name one state, and that will be our final list of states. And then from that list of 2, 4, 6 states, then we'll narrow it down. Okay, so I'll just say hypothetically, I'm gonna say Kentucky. Kentucky is my state that I'm putting on the list.
Okay.
I'm looking
gonna
up.
go with I'm going with Wyoming.
Okay. Billy, just say a state. Just pick a state. Don't look anything up.
No, I want the city with the best urban planning for
Yeah.
Okay, but
walkability.
pick a state.
Billy,
Uh,
name
There's
a
a
state.
randomized part of this.
okay, Nebraska.
Okay. Big T.
Maine.
Ooh, Maine.
Mm.
Mackenzie.
Minnesota.
Okay.
Mad Dog.
Washington State.
Okay, so we've got Washington State, Wyoming. We've got Maine. You said Nebraska? Or Big T said Nebraska.
Oh,
Bill-
he said Maine.
I said Maine.
Billy said Nebraska.
Billy said
Minnesota.
Nebraska. and
Minnesota.
Okay, and then
Arian?
Kentucky. Arian said
I
I
Wyoming.
do.
Oh,
I do go
Wyoming.
wrong.
Okay. all
We
right.
should put out a poll and let the fans
Oh, yeah.
decide which state, and then we'll pick a city from that state.
Okay.
Or you ain't fucking with that.
I mean,
kinda like that shit.
or we could just say the name. We could just name a city right now, just a random city on that list of 150,000 population cities. The first one you see that's in that group of those 6 states.
Do we have a
Okay.
limit? Is there a maximum number of people that can live in that city?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to be like a massive.
Like you don't want it to be
massive city.
Seattle.
Yeah,
150 to 750.
yeah, something in there. So I kind of like the idea of it being random. I think it's
Okay.
better if it's random than because otherwise there will be people that are like, oh well, become obsessed with my city. I just want to become obsessed with a completely random city.
Okay, so I think this is correct, but it says cities in Wyoming by population in 2023. There isn't a city with over 100,000 in it.
Not-
So the
not even
the most
Laramie?
populated, not the most populated city is Cheyenne, and it's 66,000. I did not know that. That's actually kind of wild. All
That
right,
is
so
wild. And
that
they
is-
get 2
that is wild.
senators.
it's even more wild when you put that shit into
That's crazy, isn't it?
Those are like
that shit's broken, though. That shit's broken. But all right. So you see, yours is Kentucky.
Yep.
So let's go to
Lexington and Louisville for sure have 150.
You think Lexington does? I think Lexington might be.
It's not a small town.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay. So we go. So
I'm
we
thinking
got
of
Lexington.
Frankfurt's.
That's it. That's it. Lexington
Yeah.
and Louisville are the only ones with over.
Wait, I'm gonna make a list.
I think
I
those
think
are those
the
are
cutoff
too
of this
big.
list.
They might be.
The cutoff of the list is 100,000. So population of over 100,000. And Lexington and Louisville
Okay.
are the only cities in Kentucky with over 100,000.
Okay, now Nebraska.
Nebraska has 2. It's Lincoln and Omaha.
Lincoln.
Okay.
Maine,
then-
Augusta
Yep.
probably has
Maine,
150.
Maine, there is not one.
Augusta, Maine doesn't.
Oh, I'm lying.
Portland's got to
My
be.
bad.
Yeah, what about Portland?
No.
We could go visit Cole.
No.
Portland's the tip of the megalopolis.
Wow, Augusta, Maine, 19,000 people.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, Maine
Yep.
is.
Maine doesn't have one.
So Maine doesn't have any?
Something's going on with Maine. I'd like to add Maine to my watch list
Okay.
of states. I want to keep an eye on Maine. I want to keep an eye on Delaware. Those-
Minnesota. See, Minnesota has Minneapolis and St. Paul.
What about Duluth? Duluth?
Nope.
Duluth's fascinating.
Upon further review, I think 150 may have been too large.
It might have been,
actually.
yeah.
Let's just
That's
make it
what I'm
100.
saying. I don't think population should play into it. I think it should just be because they're dope.
You know what?
There'll be a dope history behind every city. That's why people move there.
I like Duluth.
Duluth?
I could party with Duluth, Minnesota.
I've heard Duluth is fun.
Duluth is.
Duluth. I've never even heard of Duluth.
Oh, Billy's about to say something problematic about
No,
Duluth.
I'm not about to say anything problematic about Duluth. I want to keep Duluth as a hidden gem.
You want to gatekeep
I'm
Duluth?
keeping Duluth.
Everybody gets one veto.
I don't.
Duluth, Minnesota
Everybody gets
is
a
where you
veto.
draw the line.
Is that your veto?
I'd like to apologize to all of our listeners in Duluth right now because Billy just took a shit on.
No.
on-
I don't want. Duluth's a hidden secret that I want to keep.
Okay.
How often are you in Duluth, dog?
No, everybody gets one veto.
Yeah.
I'm sad for the people of Duluth because I was about to go balls deep in Duluth.
Duluth is awesome.
Is
it's
it?
like sick. It's this,
Now you're making me want to go.
Yeah, why are you vetoing?
How
it?
often are you in Duluth? I'm wild curious.
Duluth and I go way back.
Billy's got a couple warrants out for him.
he can't step foot.
The volunteer Norwegian police force in Duluth is looking for Billy. He's on reptile charges.
No, it's they're actually Danish, but
Don't Duluth explain to me.
no, the Danish police are on my ass.
Okay.
That's
I thought you
that's
were
the
telling me
police
that there were no Norwegians in Duluth. I was about to call.
I-
my
there's-
my bunker's near Duluth.
Big
I
cap.
just my
Big
bunker's near Duluth. I don't want you
Oh,
guys near Duluth.
All right, I now I know why Billy's vetoing Duluth. When Billy was in his apocalypse cabin that he had a few years ago at the start of the pandemic, that was close to Duluth. So I think this is Billy's way. Correct me if I'm wrong, Billy, but I'm pretty good at looking into your brain. This is your way of saying you already know too much about Duluth and you've been there too much.
No, I love Duluth. If we were like gonna have like a macrodosing convention in Duluth, I'd be like, yes, but I also want to keep Duluth. Like you know how like you know how they call Bozeman, Montana, Bose Angeles
Yeah.
because it's been gentrified and like.
All right, I'm revoking Billy's veto then. I think we should do Duluth. If
I don't
that's
want to
your
fuck
reason-
up Duluth.
If that's your reason
Billy's
why.
talking like somebody who's lived in like Nashville or Austin, Texas for the last 25 years, and they're like, "This is bullshit."
Keep
They're
Duluth weird.
changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Duluth is
Duluth weird.
Duluth. I mean, Duluth has such a amazing history. It's like a mining. It was
Yeah,
like a
so let's
mining hub.
fucking do Duluth, you piece of shit.
Okay. Let me speak to my people from Duluth, and we can come.
Billy
to a
will get
consensus.
back to you.
Talking about, okay?
No, we're doing
All right,
Duluth.
No, now you.
Wait, hold
Billy-
on. Let's finish because Maddie had 5. There's 5 cities in Washington.
Okay.
There's Bellevue, Seattle.
Sucks.
I think Seattle's out. So there's Bellevue, Spokane, Tacoma, and Vancouver.
Tacoma, Washington, when you said this, was the first random city that popped into my head.
Yeah. Hey, now is Tacoma too close to Seattle?
I think it's
It's
probably
basically
too
Seattle,
big.
right?
Yeah.
And Vancouver is like North Tacoma. I
Portland.
think.
It's like Port. It's like no. It's like right by Portland.
It's
I'm
like
talking
South
like
Canada.
5 minutes. No, Vancouver. Oh, it might. No, Vancouver, Seattle.
Yeah.
Vancouver, Washington.
There is a
I could be wrong
Vancouver,
about that.
Washington. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, hold on. Let me see. If I'm not mistaken, it's like right by Portland.
Now I just want to do Duluth. It's like when your parents say you can't do something, now you want to do it more.
Yeah.
You've fucked yourself. You do this every time where you're like, oh no, and then you just don't stop talking.
Yeah. You make me.
Yeah,
wanna
it's
do
like
Duluth.
right by Portland. It's like 5 minutes from Portland.
No, I didn't know that there was no state tax in Washington.
I didn't either.
Oh yeah. So Vancouver is like it's basically North Portland. Arian's right.
That feels like a cheat.
Yep.
And then Tacoma is south of. I really fucked up my geography on this one.
Are
Tacoma
we sticking
is
with
south
the
of Seattle.
100,000? Are we sticking
No,
with the
that was too
100,000?
much.
Okay.
Do we
I
do
agree.
50?
I think leader in the clubhouse right now is Duluth. We can all agree on that. I'm pumped for Duluth.
I got some hookups
this-
in Duluth. We would have a great time in Duluth.
I don't even. I don't even necessarily.
Billy, how
want the
many
hookups yet. I
times
just-
have you been to Duluth, man?
I've been
Honest,
to Duluth.
genuine question. Genuine question.
I think I've been to Duluth about 5 times.
You've been to specifically Duluth 5 times.
Yes.
All right, so Duluth is fucking cool because it's on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota, basically, and it borders Lake Superior.
Yeah.
So it's fucking cold there in the wintertime.
But the summers are beautiful.
And the summers are beautiful, and it's right next to Superior National Forest. And by that, I mean it's probably, I don't know, 100 miles away. But there's probably sick forests around there, cool wildlife, and you're Canada adjacent.
Dude, there's a snowmobile trail that takes you all the way up to Thunder Bay, and you can just ride that.
I'm more of a Silver Bay guy myself, but
And then there's tons of shipwrecks, like the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
yeah.
Like the Great Lakes are fascinating, and we could like dive a shipwreck. The water's so clear and so cold. It's the most unique body of water I've ever seen in my life. Like imagine, like everyone thinks of lakes, right? And like lakes in the Northeast, like they're fun, but they're a little dirty. And
Yeah.
this is what ocean people complain about with lake people. They're like, oh, the ocean's fresher. It's like, the water's colder. It feels a lot like cleaner. But these lakes are so clear and cold.
Are they great?
They're amazing, and you can see the bottom of the water. And the thing is, crazy thing about the shipwrecks, since they're glacial lakes and there's not as much bacteria in the water, the bodies in these shipwrecks get perfectly preserved. So you could be diving a shipwreck from the 1700s and just come upon basically a frozen dude down there, and his body looks just like the day he went down, because there's not as many fish that like eat that stuff and microbes to decompose it.
Yeah.
But there's also gigantic sturgeon that look like they're from
Sturgeon scare me. They're sturgeon.
dinosaurs.
Okay. I mean,
My friend has a cabin up there too.
I'm into Duluth.
I'm so into Duluth.
Shout out Duluth, Minnesota.
Dude, also Culver's.
Culver's. We could go to Culver's.
Is amazing. I like the dairy there is just
It's built different up there.
the best.
All right,
in the
here's
world.
what we'll do. Next
Can we go to Duluth?
nano dosing, everybody's going to come with a Duluth fact. And it can't just be cribbed from the Wikipedia page. You at least have to look at two primary sources.
Deep Duluth.
Just give me some Duluth facts. We're going to learn everything there is to know about Duluth, Minnesota.
Can we go?
Yeah, well, let's take it one step at a
Okay.
time. Let's just learn about Duluth first and make sure that it's a place that we would want
Would
to
be
go
a great
visit.
place to go camping.
Yeah, so
Ooh,
let's
Billy,
just
interesting.
learn about it, okay? Duluth, Minnesota.
The girl from the North Country, Bob Dylan, is written about a girl from Duluth.
Don't use all your Duluth facts right now, Billy.
Oh shit!
This is next Monday.
It's already unloading the clip.
Next Monday on nano dosing, we take
do
a shallow
Duluth.
dive into Duluth. We dip our toes into Duluth, and then we'll move on, and we'll see where it takes us. There's one topic I want to get into a little bit today. I learned about it in Columbus when I was on the gambling live stream, and Megan Making Money was sitting next to me, and she was talking to me about this old showman back in the 1700s, and this dude is fascinating. I think Billy, you'll especially like this guy. His name is Tarrare, or it might be Tarrare, but they called him Tarrare, and he lived from 1772 to 1798. He was like a traveling circus freak, and he's known as having the greatest appetite of anybody in history. He ate so much that he was like a traveling sideshow, where people would go and they'd just like watch him eat, basically. So
What's
this
his
guy,
name?
Tarrare, you can look him up on Wikipedia. It's Tarrare.
Oh, I heard about this guy.
Tarrare. He was born in France, right? They don't know his exact date of birth, and when he was a kid, his parents were like, "What the fuck? This kid eats more than anybody I've ever seen." He could eat his own body weight in a single day of food as a child.
Didn't they say that he might have been like Andre the Giant says he like might have been related to this guy?
I don't know about that, but his parents, he ate so much that his parents could not afford to take care of him. Like they literally could not afford enough food to keep their kid well fed. So he basically ditched his family. His family kicked him out because they're like, "Dude, you eat too much. You got to get out of my house." So he started rolling with like pimps and thieves and hookers. And he just fell into like a shady underworld of society. So he was stealing, he was begging for his food. And then he got a job as a warm-up act for a traveling charlatan, which, by the way, like charlatan gets thrown around almost as a pejorative word nowadays. The old school charlatans, I have nothing but respect for them. So Tarrare would eat corks, stones, and live animals. He could swallow an entire basket full of apples, one right after the other. And he loved snake meat too. And then he moved to Paris to work as a street performer. And he was successful as a street performer, but on one occasion the act went wrong and he suffered severe intestinal obstruction. Members of the crowd carried him to the Hotel Dieu hospital, where he was treated with laxatives. So they basically just made him shit out everything that he ate. So he recovered, and then after he recovered in the hospital, he offered to demonstrate how good he was at eating by eating his surgeon's watch and chain. And then the surgeon was like, "What the fuck, dude? I just saved your life, and you decided to pay me by eating my watch to show me how good you were at eating." And then the surgeon was like, "If you swallow that, I'm going to cut you open to get my watch out." So he was like a normal sized dude. He weighed actually a little bit small. When he was 17, he weighed 100 pounds, but he could eat 100 pounds in one sitting. So then he served in the military for a while, and then he tried to cure himself, but basically he got kicked out of the military because he ate too much and they couldn't feed him either. Yeah. So he went back to the hospital, tried to get himself cured, tried to be like, I'm living with this curse where I do nothing but eat all the time. And the doctors treat him. They gave him laudanum. They gave him wine vinegar. They gave him tobacco pills too to try to get him to stop eating. And then following that, the doctor just gave him a shitload of soft-boiled eggs, but this also failed to suppress his appetite. And he was caught in the hospital drinking blood from patients that were undergoing bloodletting.
Oh, God.
And then they transferred him to a lunatic asylum, but his doctor was like, no, don't transfer him. I need to continue to study this guy. And at that same time that he was in the hospital, a 14-month-old kid just disappeared from the hospital.
Do you think he ate him?
That they suspected that he ate the kid, and they kicked him out of the hospital too because he couldn't stop eating. Like, okay, I'll say this: you should never eat a child. But if you're Tarrare and you're living in just complete and utter hunger for your entire hunger makes you do fucked up stuff. I'm talking like not just you miss 2 meals hunger. I'm talking like you feel like you're going to die, like starvation hunger. You will do crazy shit if you look back through history. I was reading that book about some of the famines that Stalin imposed in Ukraine and shit like that. People were they ate their kids at times because they were just being starving. If you're starving for months at a time and you don't die, you go crazy. And so it sounds like he was just crazy his entire life because he was always hungry. So after the hospital incident, he was contacted by the head of the Versailles Hospital, and they notified his family doctor that a patient of theirs wished to see him. Excuse me, I misread that. So after he left the hospital, after he dipped out, Tarrare tried to get back in touch with his doctor from the hospital where he allegedly ate a kid. And he was like, I need you to fix me. I'm in bed right now. I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm hungry. And then he told his doctor that he swallowed a golden fork 2 years earlier, that he believed that was lodged inside of him and causing his sickness. And he was like, doctor, I need you to help me take this golden fork out. But then the doctor was like, no, you have tuberculosis. And so then he passed away. But after he died, they gave an autopsy. And they found that his throat and his esophagus was abnormally wide. And when they opened his jaws, they could see directly down into his stomach because it was just a pit. It was just a pit. And his body was filled with all sorts of crazy shit like pus, and his liver and gallbladder were huge. And his stomach was gigantic and covered in ulcers. And his stomach filled up his entire like body cavity. So like from the bottom of his ribs all the way down to where normal people's intestines would be, that was all of his stomach down there.
Jesus.
So I don't think he was related to Andre the Giant. But this dude is the all-time greatest eater, I think we can say. Like this dude would have this dude would have eaten Joey Chestnut.
Jesus Christ. I mean, this guy,
he should have worked out.
He probably had like a ghrelin, which is like the hunger hormone, like leak. I don't know. How could he? If you lived in the era of Tarrare and you just gotten him on a squat rack, imagine the gains this dude could have made. But I'm trying to figure out, because like the thing is, you can have abnormal organs and stuff. Like we see, he literally was built to consume, but that doesn't make you necessarily consume. Like the psychology of being hungry at all times has to do with like your ghrelin receptors.
I'm not familiar with the gremlin receptor.
I'm probably mispronouncing it. Grelin.
Oh, I thought you were saying gremlin.
Ghrelin.
Yeah, this dude was in gremlin mode all the time.
Ghrelin. There's actually dudes who take synthetic ghrelin and it gets you jacked. God. Don't do that. It literally rots your brain.
It would suck,
bro. This shit is crazy. So he he would sneak out of the hospital to scavenge in the gutters and in heaps of outside butcher shops. And also he would eat the corpses at the hospital's morgue.
Yo, what?
Yeah. Dude was wild.
What?
Shout out Tarrare.
No. This nigga was a cannibal. No shout out to him.
But
The earth is way better without this nigga.
but he was just hungry. That's not his fault. His body was built different, and he was never full. He was hungry his entire life.
Tarrare diff. Tarrare diff.
He's built different. He was built different.
It's not his fault.
I hope it. Imagine if he'd made it to America, where food was plentiful.
You think he would have?
Oh, it's 1772.
Yeah, he should have come to America.
This is like y'all have said before.
He would've
You know,
survived
if
the
people do
passage.
terrible shit, but their brain is so fucked up that like they can't really control it, is it their fault? Like, was it this guy's fault that he was?
Yeah.
Well,
built to eat.
Imagine
I'm struggling blaming him. Yeah.
imagine you're Tarrare, Big T,
Okay.
and you're hungry all the time. You wake up in the morning. You probably can't even sleep because you're so hungry. Your stomach's aching. You have low blood sugar. You have this ravenous need to eat, and you can never eat enough to ever be full in your life. Would the thought occur to you, because as an outsider looking at Tarrare, you're like, well, you probably should just off yourself, dude. If you're a cannibal and you're eating
I think
kids.
I would rather kill myself than like eat people.
Yeah, but if you're Tarrare, if you're in his brain, the drive to survive is like it goes against your instinct to take yourself out.
Well,
you know?
there's like a, you know how depressed people stop eating?
Yeah.
There's some sort of link, and they're trying to figure out, this is like part of the brain we don't really understand yet, about hunger and the will to live. There's like a literal connection, like the old adage, like he had a hunger for life. Like,
Mhm.
so ghrelin, they think plays a serious role in all functions. So he probably was so hungry that like the idea of killing himself to make it stop, because he was just, I don't know. They're thinking about ghrelin receptors in like people who have self-harm,
Mhm.
and they're like totally like hungry people are. That's why like intermittent fasting is supposed to like help anxiety. It's
but
just like some sort of
depressed people also overeat too.
right.
Like,
But
some people
Yeah, but those are people with
comfort eating.
good ghrelin receptors.
At one point,
I don't
Tarrare
know.
ate a live cat and left nothing but its skeleton behind, like a cartoon cat eating a fish, where they pull the entire skeleton out. Like Heathcliff used to do that.
What the fuck?
But Tarrare did it with a
Nigga.
cat.
Do you think he literally
Might have
just
had COVID first, and how does your taste buds like adapt to so many various flavors? Like, he's eating babies, cats, trash, corpses, metal. Watch, like, what the like? He's just, that's a diverse palate. Like, I can't.
Yeah, respect.
realistically, when you're putting a live cat down your gullet and having it dissolved in your stomach acids, how do you not feel the cat tearing, like scratching its way out if it was alive? Because like, have you ever picked up a cat when like a dog runs by and it freaks out in your hands and jumps out and claws you?
Yeah.
I don't think he swallowed it whole.
Well,
He ate it alive.
It
That's
said that
not
he ate a
swallowing
live.
a whole.
Well, let me read this. He seized a live cat with his teeth, disemboweled it, sucked its blood, and ate it, leaving the bare
Yeah.
skeleton only.
I don't think his
Jesus
mouth
Christ.
is big enough to swallow a whole cat.
I think it was because he could dislocate his jaw. He could unhinge it like a snake.
But
Blood.
didn't he say? But so he disemboweled it and then ate it. So it was like he killed it first.
Yeah, well, it doesn't go into a deep description of how he killed it. One time he swallowed a live eel without chewing it. That definitely sloshed around in his stomach.
Oh, a live eel, but that
Yeah.
definitely wasn't the worst. Like the live eel in your stomach, that's just like down like a piece of spaghetti.
I feel like the eel would just like figure its way out and just swim its way out your butthole.
Oh,
Like go through your intestines.
you're gonna give someone the wrong idea.
What do you mean?
Some guys be like, "Hey, what's the whole gerbil story?"
Oh, but you're saying that gay people will listen to this and they'll start
No,
swallowing
no,
Peel's
no,
belly?
no, no.
I
not
think that-
gay,
that's-
not necessarily.
That's literally what you're
gay
saying.
No, no. I'm saying there's some sick freaks who might have not thought of that, and you just put it in their mind.
Okay. Just guys that like butt play.
Or girls. I don't
Or
know.
girls that like butt play. Yep. And so dogs and cats used to see him and then run away. Because the word gets around.
It was just like, dogs have the third, like the sense of people. Like if a dog doesn't like someone, they're a bad person. They just got huge I will eat you vibes.
When he ate, he would blow up like a balloon, especially in his stomach region. But shortly after, he would step into the bathroom and release nearly everything, leaving behind a mess that the surgeons described as fetid beyond all conception. Dude took the biggest shits in history.
We need to clone this man. We need to find his body. We need to get the DNA.
Why, so that more babies get eaten?
No, just like create in a lab and then just for content, just have it consume things on a live stream.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch that. So he stank to such a degree that he could not be endured within the distance of 20 paces. This poor guy just smelled bad, ate everything.
For all I don't think this guy exists. For all the things people used to get killed for in this time period, how did they let this guy run rampant?
Well, he was in the military for a while.
You know how many people get shot in the military for like disobedience?
Yeah, but I mean, you also in the military, you have a lot of time to kill, and having a dude that will eat anything is probably a good diversion for you, right? It's probably good for morale. You're like, yeah, I mean, it's no
Actually-
different than elementary school lunchroom cafeteria. It's like, yo, this dude will eat anything. Watch this, hey Tarrare, eat this gun, and he
Dude,
would just like swallow a musket.
They definitely fed corpses on the battle. Was this the Napoleon? Did he fight in the Napoleonic
This was
Wars?
they were at war with Prussia. And
Yeah.
they said that Tarrare's strange condition made him a perfect courier. General de Beauharnais ran an experiment. He would put a document inside of a wooden box, had Tarrare eat it, and then waited for it to pass through his body. Then he would have some poor unfortunate soldier clean through Tarrare's mess and fish out the box to see if the document could still be read. It worked, and Tarrare was given his first mission. Disguised as a Prussian peasant, he was to sneak past enemy lines to deliver a top-secret message to a captured French colonel. The message would be hidden inside of a box, safely enclosed inside of his stomach.
Oh my god!
So he was like a pigeon. He was like a
Yeah,
courier pigeon,
you-
except a human.
You think about what Tarrare did behind enemy lines. You want to talk about war crimes and atrocities?
Yeah.
This is like, what do you think this guy did in Prussia?
Well, and at the time, people in Prussia probably didn't know that much about French people. And so if one person met Tarrare, they'd be like, the French are fucking insane. They just go, they'll eat your horse. Tarrare did not get far on this mission. Perhaps they should have expected that the man with sagging skin and a putrid stench that could be smelled from miles away would attract attention instantly. And as this supposed Prussian peasant couldn't speak German, it didn't take long for the Prussians to figure out that Tarrare was a French spy. He was stripped, searched, whipped, and tortured for the better part of a day before he gave up the plot. In time, Tarrare broke and told the Prussians about the secret message hiding in his stomach. So he was a snitch, too. They chained him to a latrine, and they waited. For hours, Tarrare had to sit there with his guilt. Imagine what this guy's butthole was like. They're talking about his jaw. This guy's he definitely had a goatsy type butthole. And he finally shit it out. The Prussian general found inside the box was a note that simply asked the recipient to let them know if Tarrare had delivered it successfully. General de Beauharnais, it turned out, still didn't trust Tarrare enough to send him off with any real information. Smart general. The whole thing had been just another test. The Prussian general was so furious that he ordered Tarrare to be hung. Once he calmed down, though, he felt a little pity for the flabby man, openly sobbing on his gallows. He had a change of heart and let Tarrare go at the last minute back to the French lines, warning him with a quick thrashing never to try a stunt like this again.
I mean, the thing is, what realistically happened is Tarrare was probably found in some farmhouse eating the chickens, and the farmer was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, so that's when he begged his general, like, fix me. I can't live with this condition anymore. And then Tarrare just didn't get fixed, and then he got hungrier than ever. The insatiable Tarrare sought out other meals in the worst possible places. During one desperate fit of hunger, he was caught drinking the blood that had been removed from the hospital's patients and even eating some of the bodies in the morgue. And then he allegedly ate the baby after that.
Bloodletting fascinates me. You know, that's how George Washington died.
Oh, really?
He had a sore throat, and then they did bloodletting until he literally died because they took too much blood.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And as someone, I got blood taken today, and I don't understand how people thought it made them feel healthier after.
Yeah, it just makes you lightheaded.
Yeah.
You can get drunk way easier.
I've been podcasting through with less blood today. This is my bloodletting game.
Doing great.
Like Jordan's flu game, this is my bloodletting game.
You got less of that liquid gold flowing through you. So during Tarrare's during his autopsy, they found that his mouth and his esophagus was about a foot wide.
What?
You could put a foot down his throat.
Dude, this guy definitely swallowed a baby.
Yeah, this
A
guy.
baby, think a foot wide. I mean, I don't even think many birthing canals get that big. So a baby would be the perfect size to throw down that gullet.
You get 10 centimeters when you have a baby.
Yeah.
That's 4 inches.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, this guy definitely ate that kid.
He ate the baby. It's probably not his first time eating a baby either. He
Probably-
definitely ate a baby before.
Yeah,
In Prussia.
yeah.
He definitely was behind enemy lines. He was like, I'm so fucking hungry. I gotta look a baby.
So they stopped the autopsy midway through because he smelled too bad. But they learned that his condition was not in his mind. He had a constant biological need to eat. Every experience that he had in life had been dictated by the body that he'd been born with, one that cursed him to a life of eternal hunger.
Damn.
And that was from allthat'sinteresting.com. That part right there that I just read about Tarrare, if you want to go check it out.
That shit's disturbing, fam.
Yeah. Like, imagine if that happened to someone in today's age.
I'd take him to a Golden Corral.
We should reincarnate Tarrare just so he could, like, go ham at a Vegas buffet.
Yeah. Oh, God, he would love the win. Yeah. Imagine if you got this guy high, how much he could
Jesus
eat then.
Christ. Do you think modern
it'd be-
science could fix him?
His poor mom, like when she was breastfeeding him as a baby, he probably just didn't let go.
He probably just took the whole tit.
Yeah, he's like, give me, yeah. He probably tried to eat his mom.
Yeah.
Got all the milk in there. Shout out to Tarrare. I'm glad I didn't live. He would have been the all-time worst random roommate to get as a college freshman.
Try to eat you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Tarrare, no.
Not again, Tarrare.
Tarrare, did you eat my... Yeah.
Yep. For more information about Tarrare, there's some good YouTube videos. Check out the lineup and History Defined, too, to read about Tarrare.
Can't say he wasn't prolific though.
Well, I agree and I disagree, Big T, because, yes, he was prolific.
The great ones go by one name. You know, one name.
He's like Pele, yeah.
LeBron, Pele, Tarrare.
Cher,
Beyonce.
Madonna, yeah. I think he was prolific, but also I'm shocked that we had never heard of him.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago.
I feel like I would have heard about Tarrare, though.
You know, you only die when the last person says your name.
So we just brought Tarrare back to
Yeah.
life.
Well, that goes counter to what usually happens on this podcast.
That's true. We haven't killed anybody for a while.
We should start
How's,
bringing...
we should have what's our daily checkup of
JC?
I think he's still.
Jimmy's still alive.
He's still
I
kicking.
think he's still with us.
It's because I made a prayer on Pardon My Take.
I'm going to count this as a win. I'm going to count this as a win for Jimmy Carter because nobody goes into hospice and survives this long.
Yeah.
It's been like 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's...
No, sometimes when you go into hospice, when you first get admitted, you have an uptick in your, like how you feel. And it's like almost like a placebo effect. And then it's like you have an uptick and they're like, wait, are they going to get better? And then it goes.
Well, maybe
at
he
a
just
quick
finally
downhill.
stopped building houses, and his body was like, "I've got another 2 years if you'll just chill." I mean, he's been out there building homes.
Yeah.
And he's 98.
He's working construction out in the sun.
His body's like, I can get to 102 if you'll just sit down.
his body was just helping so many people when the only thing it could help was itself. It just
Yeah.
started helping itself.
Sometimes you got to take care of number one before you worry about everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Jimmy might pull through this.
Is that, you know what fascinates me? The people with Alzheimer's who are about to die that like like the day before they die, they suddenly just get super lucid and sharp.
Oh, I've
And they start-
seen that happen.
Yeah, and they start talking to everybody, and like they didn't know what was happening for like the past like 3 years, but then all of a sudden like their family's in the room and they just are just on par,
Mhm.
and they just like they start talking about their will and stuff, and like talking to people and knowing who everybody is and recounting crazy memories, and like that's got to be like the DMT.
Yeah.
I've had that happen to my family, and they don't have like an explanation for it. They think
Yeah.
it's like just part of the process. But yeah, they like have this. They just start to remember everything.
Yeah, I bet people in hospice, people who work in hospice care, say the crazy, like have the craziest stories.
Bro, hospice is nuts.
If you work in hospice, shout out to you.
you are our best person. Like
Yeah.
you are our best people out there.
My grandma was a hospice nurse.
That's got to be the toughest
Yeah.
job in the world.
It seemed like pretty not fun.
You
Imagine-
get
Because you like get connected to these people and then you just know that they're gonna pass away.
you get to experience like the most ups and downs of like all of human emotion with every single client that you have.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely hear about so many confessed murders and crimes. Like imagine the old, like the
You
guy.
probably hear about like a lot of treasure too.
Yeah, the Alzheimer dude, and then all of a sudden he's about to die, and he just pops up, and he's like, "I'm DB Cooper. I jumped out of the plane. Like it was me." And you're like looking around for someone else to hear this happening, and then you just
If you're a hospice worker, do you have the doctor-patient confidentiality?
I don't know.
Because
HIPAA?
I would imagine that somebody, probably multiple people, have been like, "Yeah, I killed Kennedy," and then what do you do with that information?
Oh.
Do you have to keep that quiet?
I'm so going out and like saying some crazy shit, and just like getting everyone to be like, "Yo, he did what?"
It's so basically how you live normally.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just like everyone's like, DB Cooper wasn't my time frame. There'll be something that I'll confess to on my deathbed and pretend it was me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any hospice workers on your list?
I actually think I do.
I've heard that like hospice workers, they'll if you're holding their hand while they're dying, you can feel like a presence through your body as they die.
I'm sure
Like their
there's
soul leaving.
there's wild stuff that happens.
Mhm.
I could never do anything like that. It's
God.
gonna fuck you up. I mean, do people work in hospice for decades and decades, and then when they get into hospice,
They like know what's gonna happen.
yeah,
You have to just be like desensitized to it. I feel like you just
Yeah.
that part of your brain has to just go away. Like
Probably.
death just doesn't have that same chokehold on you. I
Mhm.
guess.
I feel like if you're
Okay.
already like a doctor working in a hospital, you experience like
Oh,
death, not to that extent, but
Like,
like
a
often
ton of
enough
death.
that you're like numb to it.
Immune.
Probably.
yeah. I was on a train, and I got placed in one of those seats that have a table in the middle,
Mhm.
and you get assigned seats. And the people across from us was this like very old couple, and I was coming back from Boston, and they sat next to us, and like they saw that we were in green, and they the first thing they did was starting to like talk to the conductor to get new seats because they're like and then I was like, oh shit, like we probably look like shitheads right now. So I just started a conversation with them, found out that this guy was an endocrinologist, and then I had a ton of questions, and we just started talking. This is one of those conversations that I wish recorded in my brain I could make it a podcast. And we just started talking about all these different factors, like stuff that he experienced as being an endocrinologist for like 50 years. And like all of a sudden I was like asking him about this one case, and it was about this kid it was about like he started talking about this condition where you get a tumor at the base of your skull, and that it's the worst thing ever because it just keeps growing back. And then he just started bursting out crying, and I was like, whoa. Like he was like, at the time I was just getting through every day, but now thinking back about it, like it just hit me, and I was like, whoa. Like
that guy wishes so hard that the conductor found a different seat for him.
no, we actually had a great we talked all the way back to New York, and he was
How
like,
drunk were you?
I had to record after I got off the train.
Yeah, this poor man.
No, this
This
man had
poor
an
guy.
amazing conversation. If we actually have his card,
I also feel
he
like
gave me his card.
I also feel like an endocrinologist, like the worst person to put in front of Billy, like of all doctors. He's like, "Can I talk about my hormones with
Yeah.
you?
How do I optimize my?
Do you
Yeah.
have any HGH on hand you
Did
can
this
pass
guy,
off to
did
me?"
this guy actually exist, Billy, or was this like
This is a figment of
an imagined
imagination.
train ride back?
No, it was actually pretty cool.
It basically what you've described is like if you wrote The Gambler by Kenny Rogers. Where it's The Rambler by Billy Football, where he just screams facts that he learned on the Joe Rogan podcast to a doctor when he's hammered on the way back from St. Patrick's Day.
No, this guy was it was cool. But yeah, he basically talked about being a doctor and dealing with a lot of the day-to-day stress to his time when he was serving in Korea.
And you made him cry?
Well, he was offering up all this information, and then he just was talking about this one case, and then he just started bursting out in tears. I was looking around like, oh shit.
This poor guy.
No, but he was like, he wanted to talk to us. Like once he realized that we were cool, like he like started like, cause I guess he.
Did you buy him a beer?
No, because he didn't drink.
Did you ask?
Of course. No, I wasn't drinking on the train.
Of course he
I was
So how'd you know he doesn't drink?
Because
Good question.
He offered. He was talking about how different people react to alcohol, like individually, and like it was no. And he was like, I don't drink, but he was talking about.
He brought it
for
up.
some reason. He was talking about his father was on like, his father was in advertising during the 50s, and like I was like, oh, was it like Mad Men? And he was like, yeah, he had a table of scotch in his office and would be drinking by 10 a.m. once he got to work. And I was like, that's like a crazy different time. Like, how do you think that affected our endocrinological system? We were talking about epigenetics and how
The hell are epigenetics?
epigenetics is like how you take care of yourself impacts the genes you pass on, and how basically like maintaining your health, like some of the genetic factors can be caused by like alcohol, drug use and stuff. And he was talking, he doesn't drink because I don't know, it was really cool.
It's not milk.
Yeah.
Mad Dog is starting to approach like Hank levels of understanding Billy's lies. 7 steps.
What? This wasn't a
before-
lie. This was this was an actual conversation that occurred.
I'm sure.
No,
I'm
I know.
It's the beer part though.
What?
The beer part I just had. I
Yeah.
had to just double check.
Yeah. No, Mad Dog, you're on the right track.
What?
I was just a bit confused on how you you knew he didn't drink immediately.
Because we were in the conversation. That was something he divulged.
I know. I'm just asking questions. I
didn't
believe you fully.
We weren't drinking on the train.
That's fine.
You're such a liar, Billy.
We weren't.
Such a liar.
We weren't. We actually weren't.
You're okay. I know
Okay,
you weren't.
Whatever.
Anyway, you weren't.
That
And
morning,
there it is.
yes. That morning, yes. The 4-hour ride back, I was trying to sleep it off.
You didn't have a single drink to take the edge off on the way back?
No.
All right.
Okay, but he admitted to drinking that morning, so I believe him that he wasn't drinking on the train.
I don't know about that.
Sometimes I feel like
Do you want to
when
make a bet? I think I could prove it. Do you want to see my credit card statement? All my credit card statements from that 4-hour period.
I
on the train?
actually do want to see your credit card statement, but not for that reason. I just
Okay.
want to see. I want to see. It's just dog food and lizards. And probably just chicken breasts.
Anyway, in other news, I have a lot of Indian bots after me.
Yeah. Arian, have you read up on the story that Billy's been blogging about recently?
I have not.
Billy, care to enlighten him? This is a fascinating story, actually.
I heard this story about a guy who, and there's an update, and I have to reblog it. But there's this guy who's basically the most wanted man on Earth right now. His name is Amritapal. Sorry if I butcher this pronunciation. I've literally only read it.
What if you just nail it though?
Amritapal Singh.
Okay.
Who basically the Indian government wants this guy bad. So in order to do that, they shut down the internet in a state in India the size of Texas. Like all those people are without internet, and 70,000 police officers were tasked in finding this guy, and he evaded all of them on a motorcycle.
Were they all after him at once?
Yes.
Sounds like a
A big
Bollywood-
deal.
you ever
A
seen-
huge.
You ever seen them Bollywood movies that be like hella dramatic as fuck?
Yeah.
It sound like some shit like that.
They have this guy on video, like basically hopping on the back of a motorcycle and evading police. And like, if you thought this is what originally brought me interest in the story, I was like, this guy makes 5 stars on GTA look like child's play. Like they shut down the internet in an entire state the size of Texas, population and geographic wise.
So this guy, I know nothing about the backstory about why this guy's wanted yet, but I'm saying if somebody were so wanted in America that they shut down all the internet in New York, everybody in New York would be like, fuck that guy, arrest him. immediately, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like in India, they're rooting for him.
In the region, basically, depending on who you talk to, like some consider him a terrorist, some consider him an advocate. I'd put him in, like, to get into the geopolitics of it, there's this region in India called Khalistan, and he's basically leading the modern separatist movement of that movement, which has been going on for a long time. And basically, it's 100% the British's fault in the partition of India to Pakistan and India. There's a group of people, there's a religion called Sikhism, which a good majority of the population there, I think it's the plurality, they're all Sikhs, and basically they kind of want their own state because in the partition, all the Muslims went to Pakistan, the Hindus went to India, and there was a ton of infighting because of that. And basically these guys have been kind of oppressed by the Indian government for a long time. They also may have been a group in retaliation for a ton of crackdowns on their separatist movement, assassinated their prime minister at the time, her name was Indira Gandhi.
Mm-hmm.
Her security were made up of Sikhs, and they assassinated her in retaliation for basically a kind of a genocidal killing in Khalistan of the Sikhs. Indira Gandhi, not related to Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
That was crazy.
All right.
I always thought it was like his sister. Turns out, like, it's not even a rare name there. I mean, it's not even like a popular name there, but kind of related by marriage to a cousin. But yeah. But anyway, what happened is this guy's escaped, and I blogged it in all these Indian bots. I was blogging it to talk about like how crazy it was he escaped 70,000 cops, and then all these Indian bots started like saying this guy's a terrorist, you shouldn't be glorifying this. And then a bunch of other Sikhs from the Sikh diaspora around the world, a lot of they had to leave because of the oppressive government. So there's like a ton everywhere. Sikhism also a religion that like has super interested me from like when I was a really young age, because after 9/11, unfortunately, Sikhs all have to wear, part of their code is that the men have to wear turbans. So they became the target of a lot of Islamophobic attacks, which is really sad because, they became targets out of something that had zero, relation to, especially like it was a whole other religion. And so one day a Sikh came into, a father of a girl in my class came into class, like talk about Sikhism and like, to talk and basically one thing that like really interested me is they all carry swords of some sort. So it's like a young child was like, whoa, this is so cool. These guys carry swords everywhere. Why doesn't my religion require me to carry a sword?
Okay.
And so I've been sort of the ideology behind the religion is really cool. They consider themselves saint soldiers and like always fighting against oppression and like the underdog basically. But anyway, this guy, the crisis in Punjab, it's a very interesting part of history and still continues on today. But this guy, there's sort of the Indian government's been hitting him with a lot of like kind of the stuff that the CIA was hitting MLK with back in the day, like accusations of basically I don't know, they're assassinating his personal life and stuff. But an update on this is he may have not actually still be on the run. The Indian government might be like holding him hostage and saying he's on the run. So
that's embarrassing if they've got 70,000 people
Yeah.
looking for the guy and they haven't caught him yet.
Yeah, so some people are saying that he's actually captured and they're just saying he's on the run so that they can just harass Sikhs and like say, is he hiding with you? And then just detain more of them and say you have information where he is and just like harass all of them.
Like, is this guy actually real even? Or is
He's
this just
definitely
a
real.
pretext?
But a lot of protests across the world have been occurring in front of Indian what are they called, embassies by Sikhs, because they're pissed that they're definitely like pulling off.
Are you in favor of this guy or against him?
I mean, I don't know. I'm rooting for him
Yeah.
to escape. I hope he's on the run and not actually detained so that he could like escape.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, this is like we're seeing history, happen in real time, and like this guy one day might be like revered as like a huge freedom fighter,
Okay.
like
All right.
like a Gandhi or
Let's wait for all the facts to come out.
yeah. But it's kind of skeptical when you just as soon as I post the article, just a ton of bots just start rolling into my DMs and like Twitter mentions that like. But apparently, it was explained to me that like the Indian government has bots that are like they pay them like 5 rupees an hour just like to if they see anything like this, just like hate mail it and report it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a cool article. Read it. It was one. Oh, you know what's annoying? I wanted to take this article pretty seriously, so I like applied 100% of my brain to it. But now everyone.
What do you
thinks
usually
I
apply?
used-
What percentage?
Well, because I was writing it overnight, so I knew that I didn't have to get it out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So like usually when I'm blogging a story, I'm trying to blog before anyone else. So there's a lot of typos. I'm just trying to get it out as fast as I can.
And yeah.
But this one I like took my time with.
Yeah. Rumors on the street were that you use ChatGPT to write it.
Yeah, you can put it through any sort of plagiarism checker. It's kind of annoying.
There were not enough typos, and people were like, "This can't be Billy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, how would you check to see if it's made by ChatGPT?
There's ChatGPT actually came out with a software and now all plagiarism checkers. News is out. Plagiarism checkers now check for AI. So stop
Nice.
using them to write your college essays.
Is it like 100%? Because like, what if it's not? And it's like,
You can tell.
How would they?
My grammar is actually pretty bad in some of these sentences. You can absolutely tell that it wasn't.
Colleges have these big databases that they run them through, and it scans to see if what you've written appears anywhere else.
So they're saying that ChatGPT would. It's not everything that they do isn't an original.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's retrieving information from other places, but I think it packages it slightly differently. But they said it wasn't in those at first, but I guess, Billy, you said now it is.
Yeah, because if you wrote the code for ChatGPT, then you would know how ChatGPT would structure its replies, and there's probably an algorithm that you could kind of reverse engineer and figure out, okay, this is written by our software.
Yeah, I think they said at the beginning, kids were like, "Oh, this isn't on like the plagiarism stuff that schools have," but I guess now maybe it is. I don't know.
My brother
ChatGPT
recently said. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go off.
I was gonna say my brother recently sent some in the group chat of it was actually Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about threat of ChatGPT, and I'm still not 100% convinced it's like a threat. I don't really see it. I know I hear the arguments and how it has like learning software and stuff like that, but it's still code written by a human. You know what I mean? Like you can just turn it off.
It's woke.
I'm not. Maybe I don't understand enough about it. I'm definitely can concede that, but from what I know, I'm just not that concerned about it. The only thing I am concerned about, which I think there's a remedy for, is the deep fake videos. Like those are actually have real world implications where I think it could be a problem. But other than that,
from what I understand about AI and ChatGPT, it's that if you keep optimizing it, it will then start to figure out how to learn on its own. And then once it starts to learn on its own, then its own power will increase exponentially. And then at that point, it could get into some serious problems. It's funny because, like, Elon has said that the thing that keeps him up late at night and makes him lose sleep is thinking about the implications of artificial intelligence and where it could take the world. Elon, just stop. You can just stop making artificial intelligence.
He's not making it. Microsoft's got it now.
He is making artificial intelligence for
I
like
think the
autopilot
argument
and
was
shit on
he-
Teslas.
But that's like
that, and he's making it to like I heard him say, not him. I heard somebody say that he is making AI to combat AI from corporations. So he wants to make personalized AI that can ward off corporate AI.
Can't that also lead to its own set of circumstances where your personal AI just Yeah.
Of course.
I think we should just stop with AI. The world's fine.
Well, the thing is, it'll
Let's
definitely
just-
take everybody's jobs.
It should be illegal to make AI.
I'm okay with that, actually.
Wait.
If that's the end goal, if the end goal is to make AI have every job be done by some kind of mechanical or computer device, that's actually dope. If that's the end goal, if we could have 3D printed, houses, so humans no longer have to do that labor, machines can farm, agriculture, machines can do all of that shit, where humans can just like exist. I think that would actually be fire.
I don't know if we're gonna get there though.
No, I mean, I think the process to get there would be extremely harmful. For sure.
Yeah, because if we started that process, then the people that would have the AI and have that capability on their side at first would be the rich and the powerful people, and they would make sure that their AI was optimized to them. And since the economy is a zero-sum game where we're not like, wealth gets passed back and forth, it doesn't just get created. Somebody's losing, right?
Mhm.
If somebody's winning.
I have breaking news.
Okay.
Chiefsaholic is currently on the run. He's been issued a $1 million bond, and he's removed his ankle monitor.
Okay, so this is a lot like the Sikh guy.
Yeah,
So
much
now we've
different.
now we've got a 5-star alert on Chiefsaholic,
Yeah.
the super fan.
Should I go hunt him down?
No, let the man live.
Breaking Bad style? Dog the Bounty Hunter style?
Let the man live.
No, but back to AI.
You know what I'm saying though? Like in the meantime, before we get there, people will be using AI to optimize their own lives, and to a certain extent, they wouldn't want that to be available to the masses because it's protecting them. It's helping them out.
I mean, that's what happened with the internet.
But
Internet was used for the wealthy and the powerful in order to enhance and it still is in a large regard.
Can somebody tell me though, like, if we don't get to the place Arian's talking about, you're talking about like a utopia, basically.
Yeah.
If we don't get to that place, what is AI doing right now that's making our lives so much better? I say pull the plug on AI.
No,
Unless AI is
does a
listening to this
bunch
in
of
the
dope
future.
stuff.
In which case, I'm on your side, AI.
AI, there is that element, but before that happens, there's going to be the thing is we're in a weird frictional place where basically we're going to have population collapse because no one's having, the rate that people are having kids now isn't going to be able to replace the labor force needed, but also we still have people who are alive that need jobs. So there will be a time when much of the world has the same birth rates as developed countries. And at that time, AI will be essential, and the individuals will have higher standards of living, and AI will be it'll be synchronized. But there are people whose jobs could be taken away today by AI. I was testing out AI, and I was taking some of the old work I was doing a couple summers ago when I was an intern at a commercial mortgage bank, and I was basically taking some of the emails I had with the certain decks and also spreadsheets and just telling it to do my intern work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was doing all of it, and it was doing it without a problem, no human error. And basically there's tons of overseas there's some like overseas basically where a lot of the formatting of spreadsheets and slide decks is sent, like in India, by some of these banks that are totally going to get wiped out by this AI machine, because it can do, instead of these places investing in these centers that do some of this work, and like, for example, like at the end of the day, like at some of these banks, they say, we'll send it to India, and because of the 12-hour difference, that's their work day, and by the next morning they'll have all the decks they need to send to the client. That whole thing that they pay millions of dollars to upkeep and educate and train individuals overseas is going to disappear, because this one computer program can do all of their work way faster for the cost of electricity, and depending on how much the program costs. So you're going to have a huge wiping out of jobs, not just in America, overseas, like entry-level jobs that, where a lot of merit is found in the basis of our meritocracy. Now all those jobs are going to go to people because of nepotism, because there's no other way to measure how well a guy works, because of AI does all the, the grunt work.
I guess what I'm asking is it time to fight against the machines?
Well, I mean, back in the
No.
day,
It's not.
No, you gotta work with them. Like everything is integrated already. Everything. This fucking podcast has AI implementations. The algorithms that all the websites that we post the podcast on use AI. Banking, finance, maps. It's integrated. So it's about finding a way to work with it, not figure out how to destroy it, because you don't want to go back to MapQuest days.
All right, so implementing artificial intelligence, you've got truckers, right? Truckers, their one job is probably most likely to get taken over the fastest by AI, because they drive long hours on interstates. They the only cost is like the human cost. If you figure out a way to not pay truckers, and just because truckers have to stop, they have to sleep, they have to eat, all that stuff. Trucks could just go back and forth on a highway. Maybe there's like a guy sitting in a truck that, takes it the last half mile or whatever after they get off the interstate. But for the most part, the trucks could be automated, go back and forth. All those truckers are going to lose their jobs. What are they going to do in the meantime? Like that's the implementation is. It's one thing to say, okay, all these mortgage bankers out here, your job's going to be gone because of AI.
Oh yeah,
It's another thing to have truckers, and they're all kind of fired all at the same time. You think, and right now truckers, they're like the most powerful union still in America, where if the truckers wanted to, if they start losing their jobs to AI, they could just park their fucking trucks on the highway and stop all of our interstate commerce if they wanted to.
yeah, they
Like,
could. The truckers in Canada, like, totally shut shit down. If it wasn't for, like, if it wasn't for the Canadian government taking steps that would never fly in the United States from a constitutional level, they wouldn't have been able to stop them.
I think that the truckers.
What industry that has been surpassed by technology is still in effect? Like, of a path that you can think of. Like, what industry are we holding on to? Cars?
Oh, you mean like to this day? No. I thought you were talking about like horses. We still use horses.
But horses are used in a lot of places. Like, one, for entertainment, but two, for like moving cattle. Like, for agriculture. That's still a thing.
Umpires in baseball. We could tomorrow. We could do robot umps. We could, and they'd be better than the umps that we have now.
They would 1,000% be better, but I think that would take away from the game. There's an element of sports which I think will always have lean towards the human error. Like we like that aspect of human error, but as far as like real world application, as technology has grown, we have always gotten rid of the jobs that is no longer needed for labor intensive purposes. If you're a fan of capitalism, then this is a byproduct of it. You're going to cut out the labor force in order to maximize profit. That is just how capitalism works. And so it's better, if you're going to exist in this society, it's better to work with it, innovate, subsidize workers and labor unions to ease that transition rather than to fight it, because it's inevitable.
So I don't know how that transition happens without pissing off a lot of truck drivers who would probably join up together and just park their trucks and be like, you're not doing this to us.
It's like the coal miners are all mad, but their jobs have been dwindling, right? Like it's a part of society that is going to happen. One of the things that Andrew Yang got right, like, we need to start thinking about that transition, because it's going to happen. Like 3D printing, like all of this shit, it's going to happen.
What if we just agree to stop? What if we're like, okay, AI has gone far enough, we're good. Appreciate you.
Who's going to agree with you?
I don't know. Maybe there'll be a couple people out there that agree with me.
I think most normal people agree with you.
You think so?
Yes.
Like it's time to stop?
Well,
yes.
this isn't the first time in history.
You don't think that most everyday Americans see all this stuff about AI and they're like, I'm good on that?
Well, I think either they don't understand AI or they haven't really looked into it. So it's like AI is not just a random chat machine growing and learning. AI is also your banking. Your web browsing. It's your social media. It's agriculture, the way they use and distribute crops. It's business. It's everything.
Like is
AI
a,
is
is a
integrated in
calculator?
everything.
You're talking about like degrees of AI. So like a calculator is AI.
Generative AI, I think, is what we're talking about. I believe that's the.
Well, as I said, it depends on what you're talking about. And so I think the majority of people, don't want an iRobot situation. Yes. But as far as integrating artificial intelligence with the labor market, that's going to happen regardless of whether the majority of people want it or not. But even the people that I would argue that even if they don't want it, they enjoy the byproduct of it because it eases their life. It makes their life a little bit more easy.
I'm anti AI. I think.
So this actually,
I'm
Arian, I'm
Aaron,
surprised.
I'm gonna perch on my hill of ignorance until somebody convinces me otherwise. And I might be just being very ignorant about it, but I feel like the people that are implementing these changes are doing it because they're like, well, if I don't do it, somebody else will.
That's exactly what it is. But that's what I said. It's a byproduct of the system that we live in. It's a competition driven market. So it's like if I don't maximize my profits, another company in my demographic will, and I'll lose out on that capital.
So, Arian, I'm surprised that you're taking this stance.
What stance am I
because-
taking?
Well, we need to intertwine with technology because have you ever heard of the Luddites? The Luddites in England.
I have,
This is it's in a lot of labor study classes.
Yeah, and people call themselves Luddites, or they refer to other people as Luddites if they're anti-technology.
Yeah. So, well, it's sort of there are like communist elements to it, but basically it was about a radical faction that destroyed textile machinery in England because they knew that a lot of the new technology would take their jobs and threaten their livelihoods. So I think we're going to have probably the biggest technological revolution when it comes to AI very soon. And it's going to be almost like a second industrial revolution, something that we haven't even seen before. Like Dave Chappelle had a bit about how he once met Steve Jobs when he had the first iPhone in his pocket, and he wishes he went back in time and destroyed that thing because it's social media. It's like quote unquote ruined the world. It's ruined a couple things, but it's actually improved a lot of other things. But we're going to have that where we're going to look at this moment and then, when all of these jobs, because look, the U.S. is an information economy.
If
we don't have as much manual.
If you were to go back in time, Arian, and you saw Steve Jobs with the iPhone, would you destroy it?
No. Absolutely. I tell him to stop eating fruit. I think it's part of why he died. He was like a fruitarian or some shit like that. But I think it's done a lot of good. Like I think it's with anything that makes such a big wave, there's going to be negative aspects to it, and so I think that it has absolutely had some harms. But I think the net benefit for having the wealth of information at your fingertips is going to eventually be a net positive, I believe, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think selfishly, you know what I really like about the biggest impact that the iPhone, I probably actually wouldn't have a career if it weren't for the iPhone, so never mind. Yeah, Steve Jobs, go ahead, create that thing. But
That's what I'm saying.
Besides that, the thing that I use an iPhone for most frequently, like what would be the biggest pain in the ass if you didn't have a phone? Traveling to a new city and getting around. People just like, you have to ask for directions and shit. You'd have to like write down ahead of time what hotel you were staying at. Hail a cab, remember the address, all that stuff. That must have been a big pain in the ass to get around anywhere.
It was the worst. Like meeting somebody, we talked about it before, but like meeting somebody in a crowded area, like, hey, I'll meet you at the movies. meet me by the sign by the bro. What?
Yeah, like
Fuck
every
that.
episode of Seinfeld. That's what, if you want to know what life was like before the iPhone, just go watch Seinfeld and all the miscommunications that they have. If two people on that phone on that show had a phone, then they could have solved all their problems instantly.
Yeah.
And then we would never gotten Seinfeld though. All
I've
right.
actually still never watched that shit.
I think
You've never watched Seinfeld?
Mm-mm.
You should watch.
I think I watched like 2-3 episodes and it never stuck with me, so I never dug in.
It's kind of, I bet, a white America or two Americas moment.
Well, yeah, everybody on that show is white.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Like,
yeah,
I feel like
probably.
that might deter Arian.
Who would have knew Kramer was mad fucking racist?
That's such an uncomfortable video to watch when he's.
That was one of the wildest rants I've ever seen in my life, dog. Holy shit!
And then he went on the David Letterman show.
oh yeah,
That made
what did he
it
say?
worse. What made it worse? Seinfeld was trying to like ease him into the, and then the crowd was, because they're so used to seeing Seinfeld be funny, that it was laughing at him. He's like, "It's not funny, guys. It's not funny."
Yeah, because they expect. You're right. They're used to laughing at a bit between Jerry and Kramer, and they see the two of them
Mhm.
having like a very, very like somber conversation, and everyone's just like laughing nervously or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it's very awkward to
John-
watch that.
What was their excuse for him? What exactly happened?
I forget.
I don't. That's hilarious. He's at the Laugh Factory.
I think they said that like Kramer does or Michael Richards does a very intense type of stand-up comedy, and he's an intense human being, and he gets lost in whatever character he's doing on stage. I think that's kind of the route that they took with it, but there's really no good explanation for it. I also saw a video of Seinfeld and Chris Rock and Louis C.K. where they're sitting around talking about comedy, and Louis C.K. is just using the N-word and calling himself the N-word, and Chris Rock is like laughing at it, and Jerry's like, I don't think that you can say that. And then Chris Rock is like, no, it's fine. Like Louis can say that. He's got a pass. And
Yeah.
and Jerry's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Louis C.K. has been known to like push that boundary, and I'm not a fan of it. But
He is
each his
Mexican.
own. The fuck's that do anything?
I know.
Is he?
That was a bad joke.
Was it like Canelo?
Yeah, Louis C.K. is another ginger Mexican.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought he was Polish.
he was born in Mexico.
Oh. Okay.
I'm not saying that gives him a pass by any means,
To
but
jack off in front of people?
I mean, Louis C.K.
C.K. is
It says he
Mexican,
was
right?
born in Washington, D.C.
Wait. Louis,
really,
Mexican.
really close to Mexico though.
wait.
Same thing.
There is a Louis C.K. Mexico connection.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Oh,
find
his
it.
nationality is American-Mexican.
Yeah.
Born in
Uh,
D.C., though.
His father is of Mexican and
Hungarian Jewish
Hungarian
descent.
Yeah.
Jewish.
yeah.
I don't think anybody would mistake him for Mexican though.
Yeah, no,
No.
not at all. He does not pass as Mexican.
Oh, he moved to Mexico when he was an infant.
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, still I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, 100% shouldn't be saying that at all.
All right. Well, good episode of nanodosing.
Yeah, it was like an hour 40.
Shout out to Tarrare.
No, man, he's a cannibal.
It's not his fault.
But
If
I
you were
agree.
born into Tarrare's
It's not-
body in France, you would be eating babies too.
I mean, I would find a oversaturated population of animals or dogs and eat them. Would you still shout me out?
For eating dogs?
Yeah.
No.
See,
All the
that's
babies
crazy.
you want, not
I
dogs.
think that's my bigger underlying point about dogs is people love dogs more than people, and that shit's a problem. But anyway, I digress. I'm not saying like it's not his fault. I mean, I'm not saying it is his fault. It's actually, it's a chemical thing that man was unfortunately born with. I'm just not shouting out a cannibal. It is what it is.
That's fair.
Should I go hunt Chiefsaholic?
Yeah, go for it, Billy. I
Can
give
I
you
have-
permission.
Can I have funding? Just a plane ticket. I already found a
Are you,
bounty
Tama,
hunter.
are you bounty hunting him?
Yeah, I found a bounty hunter who will take me with him. Can I go?
Yep.
Is that cool?
Yep.
Sweet. Can I have a camera guy too?
You're gonna have to talk to Hank about that.
Okay, yeah. Let me talk to Hank.
All right. We'll see you guys on Thursday's show. Love you guys.